it's me, Hattie, and I am back with part 2 of Beryl's base game home. So at this point, I just put in the whole of the interior walls, which I decided on prior to all this. I did try to put in a little wardrobe, and then I remembered no, because we only got the walk-in wardrobes from the Sims 4 get-together, so I think I put a bathroom there instead. But overall, I was quite happy with how the build was looking at this point. I was then just trying to figure out how large I was going to have this corridor, and if I was going to have a lounge in the hallway, then where was I going to put it? That's what I was really thinking about at this point, and that is what I really wanted to focus on whilst I was thinking about the floorboards and things like that. I put in some of the wooden ones, but I think that I did change them a little bit because I found some shinier ones, and I'm not too happy with those, to be honest. I think it's because I'm so used to using the outdoor retreat wood or the spooky stuff pack wood. I just adore those wooden floorboards, but I wanted to stick with base game, of course, for the whole house, and nothing in here was from a stuff pack, expansion pack, or game pack, so that's what I was trying to play around with. This in here was the kitchen. I was trying my best to find a nice solution to some floor tiles which I could use. I left all this footage in purely because I wanted you all to see it, and if you have any ideas of your own through seeing this, then at least I've helped someone, even though I don't stick with this myself. I didn't actually use this. I actually changed it throughout, and I had a real hard time thinking about what I would have for the kitchen floor tiles, but I still had a lot of fun doing this, and I enjoy finding different solutions and different things that I could have there, and I try to mix it up a bit. I try and do something different each time. Sometimes it's difficult, especially as we don't have that much choice in the tiles themselves, but I thought that I would have a good go and I would try my best with it. So I incorporated some black and white in here, which I really liked, and I think a lot of the floor did stay in the end being black and white, but I can't really remember. It's been so long since I've seen this kitchen that I have forgotten a little bit as to what it looks like in the end, but I think I was happy with it in the end. I think that if I wasn't happy with it, then I wouldn't have left it in the way that I did. So I think by the end, I think it suited the room, and hopefully it will have looked nice. What I was doing here is I was trying to put the floor tiles in the brown colour, and I was trying to incorporate the same tiles as I used outside into the kitchen. I think it looks a lot better when I started to put in the black, and I was happy with that. I like the black floor tiles mainly because it really reminds me of a suburban kitchen with the whole marble flooring. I really wish that we did have brown marble flooring, which would be a dark brown, because we do have some cream, but it's just not the same. It just doesn't work for me, so I wish we had that, but we don't, and hopefully at some point we will in the future. Of course, I won't be able to do it for base game houses, but maybe at home in the future, if we ever do get some more marble floorings, then I'll be able to do something really special for it. So that's what I was thinking there. What I was doing around here is I was adding some of my favourite bookcases, which are these really big ones. I adore them, and I didn't realise that they were base game. And when I found out that they were base game, I was so incredibly happy, because it means that everybody can use these bookcases, and all you need to use is the cheat, which is unlock hidden objects, or no, unlocks entitlement, that's the one. It's the really long cheat which nobody wants to type in because it's so incredibly long, and I always make typing errors, so it takes me a lot longer to use that cheat. But yeah, so I was using those, and that really helped me out with this build. So you can get them the honest way, of course, and you can work for them, but I just wanted to put them in quickly, so that's why I did that. I was then just putting some casual places for the family to sit, because I would imagine a really large family to live here, so I wanted a lot of seating areas throughout, and that was what really made me happy when I was thinking about it. I put a fireplace in the hallway because I wanted to ensure that there would be a fireplace somewhere in the build, so that you could get the whole chimney smoke feel, because there were lots of chimneys used on the exterior of the build, so I definitely wanted to include that at some point. Then what I was doing over here is I was putting in a casual study area, which would be quite open plan, and it would be next to the doorway, so the exit of the build, and then the Sims could exit through the back there. It wasn't a special area, it was just an area that would have a computer that would be mainly used for career building skills or just gameplay. If the Simmers were gamers and they like to play on their computers, then that is where they would go. And a lot of Sims do that. Just naturally, when I'm playing in The Sims, sometimes that happens quite a lot. So I found that quite nice to just put there, and it was just a nice feature for the build to have. Then I was just filling up this little bathroom here. This was the room that I desperately wanted a storage cabinet in, but of course we can't have the storage cabinets because they're not base games, so I couldn't have that there. But of course, if you do have the Sims 4 get together and you did want a storage cabinet, then that is a really good place to put a storage cabinet if you wanted to do that. You could go and do that if you wanted to. Then what I was doing is I was remembering to put in the doors to these rooms, because if I didn't put in doors to these rooms, that would be completely pointless to have this house in the first place, because the Sims just wouldn't be able to enter any of these rooms. And I would probably earn the title of the worst Sims 4 builder, which of course I don't want, so I didn't do that. But it did actually bring me back to the days when I used to live in a house with my parents. In fact, we lived there for a very, very long time, and it's a house which I often go on about a lot in my videos. But I lived there, and the house, or the real beautiful thing about the house, was the fact that it had these surrounding rooms, and each room wouldn't lead on to the next room, so it was all very separate and boxed off. And it was actually a very secure house, because most of the doors were fire doors, so if burglars or people would try to break in the house, which would potentially happen sometimes, you know, drunk people walking past, having a bit of a giggle and trying to break in or something, because the area that we lived in wasn't a particular nice area for things like that. It would mean that if they did try to break in, they would break in through a fire door, or then they'd get to the fire door, then they wouldn't be able to go through any further to the house. So it was actually quite nice from a secure point of view, and of course it was very scary growing up, because just of the place that I used to live in England was just a particularly bad area. But I think growing up and looking back, it was a nice family home, and I felt really happy and secure there. So it did bring me back to those memories, and I had a lot of fun living there. So that was that. But this is the kitchen pretty much finished off, so apologies for talking all the way through that. But what I was doing here is I was putting in some extra floor tiles. I was trying to experiment with the dark blue colour, because I love dark blue. In fact, I've always dreamed of making a dark blue and brown house. As ridiculous as that sounds, and that sounds pretty ridiculous, but I always have. I've always thought to myself, I want to make a dark blue and dark brown house for The Sims 4. I just can't find the right things to do it with, so I don't know when that will happen. But I really liked the fact that the dark blue did look good in the kitchen. I just didn't think that it suited this kitchen, because it did look a little bit too busy in here, so I was happy with my decision of not keeping it, and I think it looks a lot better the way that it does in the end. But I think I still went back to the kitchen eventually, so bear with me on that one. But this was a little children's playroom down here. I really love this room. I think it looks very nice, and I like the fact that the kids can play downstairs and they're near the parents, and it is still quite a social room. Even though it is isolated from the rest of the house, it is still downstairs. So you can see the children playing in the bedroom, playing in this room. Actually, it's not a bedroom, but it is a room, and the parents could be doing their various things throughout the house. They could be reading a book next to this room, or they could be painting on the easel, and you could get the whole family feel, because they'd all be kept together, which I really love. So I liked the way that it turned out. Well, what I was then doing is I was just adding some pictures around the house. I wanted to include the Sims 2 clown. I think he came about in The Sims 2. It might have even been the original Sims, but I'm just not too sure. But there was a clown which came out when you were really, really sad, or your Sims were sad rather. And every single time I played with a goth family, Mortimer Goth would have this clown following him around, trying to make him happy all the time. And it really frustrated me, and after a while the clown grew on me, and as soon as he grew on me, he actually disappeared, which was actually very sad, because I wanted him back then and I just couldn't have him back because I couldn't figure out how to do it. But so we have a portrait of him which recently came up in an update, and I just absolutely adore it. So I definitely want to incorporate the clown in the house. I'm not sure if anything will happen by having that clown in the house, or whether it will make the clown appear. I don't know, but that would be absolutely amazing. I just haven't had a chance to experiment with that in The Sims 4 yet, but I really hope that they do something like that with it, because that would just be amazing. And same with this one, we have Bob Pancakes on a poster, which is very odd. He's like the town famous person. It's really strange, but I thought having him in the lounge here, it would just look quite nice, especially if the family were into their films and music and things like that. or pancakes rather, so that would be pretty interesting. Then I was putting in a chess table just in the lounge here because I couldn't figure out what else to put in here, to be honest. It was very difficult to find things that would go with the colours in this room, and something that I really dislike about The Sims 4 is the base game items don't often match each other. It's the items which we have with stuff packs, game packs, expansion packs, that they've really put a lot of effort into matching things, and when it came to matching bookcases and things, I just found it very difficult. This was a very near miss, so please just ignore this for a second, because what I did is I put a spa day chair there and I remembered it, and when I remembered it I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? I have just broken the whole rules of this base game house. I need to remove it as soon as possible. So I did go back to that and I did remove it, but I just wasn't aware. It was because what was happening is, as I was filtering out the items in my bar, after a while it would just delete my search and it would show everything. So it was getting really irritating because I had to keep changing it, and what would happen is I would forget and I would just go back to base game items, which was very difficult for me, and I had to spend a lot of time checking the house afterwards and making sure that there was nothing else in here. But luckily there wasn't, so that was the only thing which I just forgot about briefly. But I did change, so you will see that if you go and download the house. What I was doing here though is I was making a spare room. I wanted to have a room which would be for a aunt or uncle or a guest, somebody that would really stay in the house other than the family, maybe a grandparent, I just wasn't sure. And what I would do is I would just have them being in a room upstairs, and that would be quite a big room, be quite a grand room, and I really like that image, so that's what I did there. This room down here was the dining room. I wanted to make the dining room blend in with the kitchen more than any other room in the house, mainly because I felt as if the other rooms in the house really matched each other, but I wanted two rooms downstairs which would just stand out a bit more and would look a little bit different. So that's what I tried to do with this room. That's what I was trying to do here. I was trying to add some stone on the floor and try and break up the house a little bit from the whole wood look. So I did do that and I was happy with it. And I think in the end, this room was one of my favourites, purely because of how much it matched and how much the wallpapers matched the rugs and just everything in this room. I just thought that it matched really well, and I want to try to match items as greatly as this room goes together in the future. So if I do have another base game build coming up, then I will try to do something like that again, but I can't promise it because that was just a very lucky match right there. But anyway, this was the point where I was going on to do the children's bedroom. I wanted to include 2 beds in here because I wanted to maximize space, and especially as I did include a children's playroom downstairs, I wanted to make sure that there were some rooms for a child, so that's what I did in here. So I'd imagine maybe 2 twins or maybe 2 siblings which are closely aged together. Maybe one's a little bit older than the other and they would live in this room. This would be their bedroom and they would have a variety of different things. They could be boys or girls, it doesn't really matter because they are both colours in this room, which I would imagine that would be both. So it doesn't really matter which you would have in here. I can't imagine it mattering. And that is what I did. So I just added some general items. I wanted to add a storage cabinet for the children to keep their clothes in, a little bookcase, and I also added a children's castle, and that was the downstairs floor. So that was quite unusual for 2 bedrooms to be down there, but I thought that that was quite nice to add there. Because I added a lot of bedrooms downstairs, I wanted to make sure that for the upstairs I did actually include quite a nice overhang for the staircase. So I did do that, and you will see me rearranging the stuff here, and that is what I was trying to figure out and where I could potentially put it. I thought that this was a big thing for the house to have, especially as I thought it would really save me a lot of space upstairs. And the upstairs house doesn't really have to look as big as the downstairs does. I think having it like this anyway makes it look a lot more grand than it would have done without it, and I think it looks nice in the end. What it was though is it was a huge pain to do because I really do struggle with rearranging the roofs and things, and there is a roof glitch unfortunately which happens in The Sims 4 because you have the situation where it classes everything as a room. So it classes this whole area to be outside, which isn't fantastic, and it can of course interfere with roofing and things, which you can fix, but it sometimes can take a while to fix, so that's what I was doing for most of it. But I was happy when it was finally done. I felt a sense of achievement. I felt like I'd finally figured out the whole mess that it was, and I think that it looks nice in the end. What I was doing though is I was picking out the wallpapers and floorings, and I was also adding some lighting here. I wanted to make sure that the rooms were very light, and I didn't want to have any rooms being dark or anything like that because I didn't want this to be a gloomy house. So I added lots of lights. I also added bright colours on the walls, so lots and lots of wallpapers which were cream colours and also whites and pastel colours, because I'm very much into pastel colours. In fact, I love pastel colours at the moment. They are just my favourite colours to put on builds, and I really like that. What I did for these areas is I put some paintings up on the walls. Unfortunately, these walls across here, I didn't want to have like that, but because there was a roof behind it, I had to have them like this, and I couldn't change them because that was just how the house was. And I did try to delete the wall, but it just didn't work out for me, and it wouldn't happen. So I left it like that, and I still think it looks quite nice being a clear wall. And I just put some ornaments there, which was the gardening ornaments, which are a little bit bulky, but I think can look nice in large spaces, such as the one that they were placed in. So I think it looks good, all in all, and I was happy with that. And then I was just on to the large bathroom. The large bathroom was this bathroom. I always like to include a humongous bathroom, mainly because I don't like having lots of small bathrooms. I think one large bathroom for a large house like this is just absolutely perfect. So that's what I did in here. I didn't want anything too bright. I didn't want it to stand out too much. I wanted it just to blend in with the rest of the house. So I left it being cream colours, and I also changed the flooring to the tiles so it wasn't all wood. And I liked it. I liked how it turned out. I liked how it matched with the house, and it matched with the dining room and kitchen downstairs. So I liked all that stuff there. This was another children's bedroom, so maybe a child which wouldn't get on with the other siblings. Maybe a child which was a loner. It could actually be a perfect room for a loner child, and you could have that as their bedroom. I hope that I included a door there. I really, really hope that I did, because I didn't spot a door going onto that room. So if I didn't, I apologise, and I hope that it won't be too much of an issue. And you can add a little door somewhere off it. If you wanted to add a doorway into this bedroom, then you could do that, and you could have a joint room with this room, or you could add it from the outside, completely up to you. But I apologise if I don't end up adding it, because that was pretty bad of me to forget. I think it was very late when I was decorating this house. I tend to decorate my builds very late at night because it's when I can't sleep, or if I feel anxious. That is when I will build, because it makes me feel a lot better and a lot happier. And I know that that really does help out a lot of the people that watch my channel as well. If you ever feel anxious or anything, then sometimes building can help. It helps me, and I know that a lot of people do get that as well off the Sims 4 building, and that is a lot of the reason why I build in the first place. This room in here was the gym area. So what I did is I couldn't decide whether to have a business room or a gym. So I included a business item into the gym so that maybe the family, or I think maybe the dad, I would imagine the father to use this room if there was a father in this family, he could work out at the same time as looking at his business stats if he wanted to do that. So that's what I did there. I put some general items in here. I think I just filled up the walls with some pictures. I just wasn't sure which pictures to use, so I used a variety of blue and cream pictures to go with that whole room and what was going on in there. This was the twin bedroom. I can't remember how I ended up doing this room. I think maybe I had two twin girls. I was also thinking about a really large family, mainly focused around children. So I think this house would definitely be a family home, maybe a house as big as the house which was in the film Home Alone. So if you know what I mean by that, and you can imagine a family which would be of that size, then maybe this house would be perfect for a family of that size. If you do have a sim family which is particularly big and you have a lot of children, then this would be a really good family home. Or even if you didn't have children just yet and you wanted to, maybe if you wanted to do the 100 baby challenge, then this house I think would be one of the best houses of the houses which I've created so far, that I would definitely recommend using for it, just because there are so many bedrooms in this, and maybe it would go really well with the family that you have. This room in here was the arts room, so I included an easel in here. I actually really like the idea from the Pirates build which I did that was the Black Pearl. I did an art room in that which didn't look too dissimilar to that room, and I liked it. I thought that it went really nicely in the end, and I took a lot of inspiration off that room, even though they are two completely different builds. I do like that as well, because sometimes I'll think about ideas in my builds, and when I've thought about them I'll think, well, why don't I just do that in this build? And that's what I did there. So I was happy with that. This was another bedroom, maybe for an adult or a guest even. And what I did is I had a room going off of this room, so you could even include a storage room. If you wanted to keep some clothes in here, then you could do that. Or if you wanted to have a baby room, I think that's what I ended up having, because I like the fact that if there was a baby in this family, the baby could be really close to this main bedroom, and I really like that. So I think that's what I do in most cases with rooms that lead off to other rooms like this. After I put in the bathroom, then I will put in a small room for a child. So I like this room, and I think that it goes really well. I love the colours blue and yellow together as well, so I think it looks lovely. And I would imagine the child to maybe be a boy in this room. That's the room that I try to focus it around. But then again, my sister had a blue room growing up, so it depends what you want. But anyway, that is the end of the build. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.